So in this one, we're going to be talking about sorted cables, some stuff I did with some menu control with Flask, which I'll explain more, and a little bit more about my book, and also dealing with one of the questions I've had from a viewer. And I'm nearly always needing these DuPont cables. They're extraordinarily useful. And I just had a big box of these, a jumble, and some breadboards, and there were some LEDs, and there was all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, I can't find anything I need, and I specifically was having trouble finding the male to female kind. I knew I had some, so I thought, well, I'm going to take one of these storage boxes I had and divide it up. What I did is I took one of these, and this is from a set of picture frames I had. They all came with glass planes that broke, and I kept the wood in case it might be useful. I measured the dimensions of these boxes with some calipers. I had to use a long ruler for the top, but I was able to use this to pick out the depth, the amount that it draws in towards the bottom, and the thickness of the plastic. And I then just took a nice thick pen, a Sharpie pen for those who know them, and then cut it with a handsaw. Now, these are rough as guts. I mean, this was the second attempt, and you notice it kind of holds itself. This was the first attempt, and I didn't really account for the kerf, so it's a little bit on the small side, so I've used tape to bodge it. That tape won't hold, but it's a bodge that is good enough for me to reach in and get the cables I need. And I have some idea as if I'm running out of stock on one side. So, for example, the male to female I've got very few of. The male to male I've got too many of, so I know, well, I don't need to buy any more of them. I think I've got some here that have fours. I've also got somewhere a DuPont cable construction kit, but having them like this just means I can reach for what I need. The other thing, the thing I've been mostly working on, is the demonstration robot that I've been building while working on my book, Learn Robotics Programming, Get Up and Running with the Fundamentals of Building an Intelligent Robot. That's coming from Pact Publishing. And this week I've actually been working on distance sensors, different collision detection algorithms, or collision avoidance, obstacle avoidance algorithms I should say. And then I've also put together a menu system on the Pi using Python and Flask, so you could point a browser or a phone at the robot and select modes remotely. It's quite fun, it's a good thing in a book, but also at Pi Wars, trust me, you don't want to be typing commands in at from a terminal. You do just want to be able to select a mode. I've been there. At my last Pi Wars, I was furiously typing on a keyboard trying to keep up, and people were going, wow, he types quickly. It was like, yeah, it's because I haven't got any other way to control it. So that's going to be in the book, how I've built that. The next thing I'm working on in the book is going to be a pair of these speed sensors. So basically they count a number of pulses coming through there, and I'm going to mount that on the robot, and I'm going to put in how I programmed it, or how you, the reader, a reader, would program it. And it means I'm going to have to disassemble a chunk with the Raspberry Pi on it to get these underneath. And one frustration with all the models of these is it kind of feels like the headers on them all the ones I can see in the market, all of these modules, headers are on the wrong side. There are some ones I think with JSTs on the back, but yeah, why are they all on the wrong side? Because my particular kind of making, and I make all kinds of stuff, but I like to make things that are, well, robots that are mobile, small makes with Arduinos and so on. I go through a lot of batteries, and I've definitely determined that metal hydride batteries can deliver more current, so if you're doing motorized things, they're handier that way. Now, this is much diminished, but at one point, this was full of batteries of unknown status. They were mostly discharged, didn't know how far, some of them were never going to charge again. So what I had to do was take a multimeter, not an ideal way to test them, but I tested the voltage on them under no load, and labelled them all up with this horrible scrawly handwriting. But what I've got on there is the date I measured it and the voltage I measured from it. Now, some of them, and these ones are actually the ones that are left, some of them were right down in zeros or 0.1. So what I did is I basically rated all of them with the multimeter, wrote them all down, took the worst looking ones, charged them, saw if they retained any charge. And the ones that didn't refuse to charge at all, they've been gone and thrown into a battery recycling place. I use a lot of these batteries. Keeping them conditioned is handy. And in theory, you're not supposed to let them run down over the years. It destroys them more than constant use. So That means that when I want the batteries, a bit like my cables, when I want them, I can just run and grab them and they're in the right place. It's something that I really, really rate to any maker. Is I wouldn't call myself meticulous or fastidious or any of those things, but just having the tools and materials you need to hand helps, opposed to when you're, I don't know, you've had inspiration, you're on a roll, you're trying to go with a make, and you just can't find the stuff. And by the time you've found it, you've lost track, you've forgotten what it was you're doing, the inspiration's gone. Maybe you wrote it down, but even if you've written it down, even the idea is down, the fire is gone because you spent 3 hours trying to find something that worked. It's really frustrating. So these little things, just having all the batteries in the right place and knowing which ones are good, because I've got another box, not this box with the good ones, having all your cables in the right places, being able to find that digital to analog chip that you know you have somewhere. Where is it? Don't know. Want to use it in this make. And eventually you go, also I suppose not just going across to Amazon and buying them again, because you think, well, I might have one, but I don't know. So another thing that happened this week, obviously it's all back to school, but it's also back to the Coder Dojo. So I'm preparing my children. Helena's going to go and do more Scratch. Basically they've got a new course. She's going to learn that and then maybe get back into mentoring on that. And Jonathan's interested in learning Python. Awesome. So I'm actually going to go and support Jonathan in learning Python. Helena's fairly self-motivating in her mentoring of Scratch, because I've been doing Python beginners for a while in Coder Dojo on and off, among other things. Anyway, now I've got a viewer question, and one of the viewer questions was an observation that on my lovely wall of tools here, I've got lots of tape, and I went, my God, what is he doing? Why has this man got so much tape? So perhaps it's worthy of an explanation. So firstly, I've got lots of tape like this, which is painter's tape. And up there, I've got the blue painter's tape, some white painter's tape. I've also got Kapton tape. These were me experimenting with different surfaces for my print bed. Now, these tapes are useful anyway, and you can bodge things with tape, so I like them. Parcel tape, because parcel tape is handy for bodging, handy if you're going to send anything, which people send me stuff and I send stuff back. That happens, especially, I've been doing occasional repairs for people's CNC bits when I have some time. These here are not tapes. That's solder wick of a couple of different grades. 2 different kinds of double-sided tape. So there's a thicker kind and a thinner kind for, again, different makes. I've got both black and brown insulating tape. That's another kind of double-sided Scotch tape again. And then under here, that's not actually tape. That is a reel of wire. So that's like very thin, is it? There you go. Wire wrapping wire. So handy when I'm doing various boards and hacks. There are a lot of, well, not necessarily tapes up here. I mean, there are also things like down there, somewhere over here, there's a reel of plastic that's not tape. That's actually for the 3D printer. There's more tape down there. There's like more Kapton, but that's actually being used just to hold up the reel and allow it to turn freely. So I'm using those like big fat washers basically. Somewhere I've also got some of that red, super strong double-sided tape, but it's almost like a glue. I'm a bit afraid to use it because actually once you use it, it looks like hot glue when it goes on, but actually I found it's near impossible to remove it again without destroying the things you've glued together. So, tape is a bodge thing, it's fine, but it might be no more nails, I think is the stuff. And if you've actually properly primed the surfaces, you will not get them apart without destroying materials. So, bit timid with that one. So that is why there is so much tape in my lab. I think that's it from what I've been making this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to these videos. I'm also writing this book, which will actually give you some idea of building a robot yourself, taking you through step by step. And not just what I've done, but why I've done. Why have I chosen this? So it is Learn Robotics Programming. Hope you've enjoyed that, and go make stuff and be awesome. Bye!